Okay, so I studied psychology in Phoenix, Arizona, and I studied topics such as abnormal psychology. Abnormal psychology means things like, that are not normal. I mean, there's, categories such as anxiety and depression, and these categories seem to be more common and usual. And then there's abnormal psychology such as, should we consider The Silence of the Lamb and Hannibal the Cannibal, these kind of, and things like Jeffrey Dahmer, there's abnormal psychology. And then I also studied paranormal psychology and, which has to do with things like Ghostbusters, and, psychic things. And I also studied human sexuality, okay? I just studied these, as much as I did, and I had dropped out because I had a crisis in my life, okay? Ultimately, I studied psychology because after going to therapists for years, I just decided I would rather just be well educated myself, okay? After listening to this therapist, and seeing how they're very different, I just wanted to know about it myself. And that's why I did, okay? And these categories I'm interested in. I'm interested in abnormal psychology, yes, because I was, in my early 20s, I had flashbacks of childhood sexual abuse, okay? And, I had flashbacks, and the natural question that one has when they have such flashbacks is, why does this happen? Why does an adult human want to have sex with a young child? What is that? That is so, I wanted to know. So you get to study abnormal psychology when you're trying to study things like that, okay? All right, so now, gosh, I'm just coughing for some reason. So, I began to become more educated as to these different categories of psychology, and there are these major theories, and they don't agree on everything. Like there's some categories of psychology that do not believe there's any such thing as schizophrenia. There's no such thing. If you have these symptoms, it's actually something else, and they believe it's this. And then there's this other area and field of psychology where they know this is schizophrenia, you see. So being educated of these things is important, okay? Now, when you study psychology, you learn about paranormal things even in Psychology 101, even in the basic, psychology class that many people take who do not major in psychology, okay? I could be studying architecture, and as a prerequisite, I yet have to take a Psychology 101 class, okay? So, but in such classes, you learn about how there are, a significant number of reports of paranormal things, okay? Like, for instance, people report seeing apparitions of the Virgin Mary. These are consistent, and they seem to happen throughout time, and because it's significant, the number of reports is significant and also consistent, there are naturally psychologists who are going to argue you cannot say that this is not real, okay? It could be you need to consider people do see apparitions of the Virgin Mary. When you study other civilizations such as ancient Greece, ancient Russia even, there are reports of paranormal things, okay? So when considering mental health, you have to consider paranormal possibility and also paranormal ethics. There are psychologists out there who pretty much are atheists. Not only are they atheists, but they're atheists who are in a category. See, when you study atheism, there's yet different categories of atheism. But there are such psychologists who don't believe in this at all. And you could watch videos and documentaries about their theories, and they have these theories that, you know, every such sighting of the Virgin Mary, every such sighting of a ghost, every such sighting of aliens is mental illness. It's all delusional, okay? But the majority of psychologists will argue you cannot conclude this scientifically. Scientifically, you cannot conclude that these things are not happening. See, there's the scientific process, you know, and when you put these things through statistical analysis, this is the findings. And the APA, the American Psychological Association, will not just say these things are delusional. You know, there's how many Mormons in the world, and they believe that Jesus and God did, you know, appear before Joseph Smith. Are we going to say every Mormon in the world is delusional? Or, you know, you can't really do that. You know, I mean, there's all these things. So when considering, you know, my paranormal and quantum science, you know, studies and also writings, I mean, it's just breathe and relax. I'm not saying you have to agree with it. It's just a part of who I am, and naturally, because it's a part of who I am, it has a bearing on what kind of decisions I make in my life and how I prioritize goals. So it's very pertinent to doing business with me, you know. Okay, so this is why I want to inform you about a few things about myself, because you are in a business relationship with me. Hold on. Okay, put on pause. Last night the power went out and I had to light these candles in my house. The power remained on across the street in front of the house. On that side of the street the power was on. All the houses had the power, but on this side of the street, on this block, our power went out. We didn't have any for some reason. It lasted for a while and then our power came back on. Okay, so I'm making these videos to help us to be comfortable because you know, once again, we're in a business relationship, and letting each other know where and how we all stand on things is very important. Now, you know, in a previous video I mentioned scenarios, you know, are the Dave and White. Is the Dave and Kathy White family going to sell the house? Or are they going to keep the house? You know, I'm considering these scenarios a possibility because I naturally want to be prepared for whatever given scenario may happen. A scenario to consider with ICANN is, hold on, is I mentioned that I was in a housing program and in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and at some point this housing program no longer was receiving money from the government. And they shut down. Okay, so considering scenarios that may happen with ICANN is also important for us to do. For Dave and Kathy and their family, it's very important. For Taffy, it's important. And even for Michelle, it's important. You know, what if this does happen? It's important to touch base with each other, to just see how we're doing every now and then, because we just need to know. I mean, it has a bearing on how, you know, how things may happen in our lives, and also we need to consider scenarios, a possibility, and be prepared for them. So naturally, we're also considering these scenarios with me. What is it that is, you know, what scenarios does Taffy have? Would Taffy move out for some reason? Would Taffy want to stay for some reason? I mean, would Taffy have this possibility or that possibility? I mean, these are things that we all need to consider regularly so that we're well prepared. Okay, real quick, I want to, before I consider this, before I talk more about this other category, I'm going to bring your attention to, this is a picture of Abraham Lincoln. Look, that's President Abraham Lincoln, and he's wearing paranormal investigation equipment, okay? This is a famous picture, okay? And the study of paranormal things and also quantum science is very much a part of American history, okay? When considering things, you know, this category of spirituality, okay, ghosts and apparitions and things like that, I mean, when considering mental health, it's best to be educated on these things. You know, I mean, isn't that amazing that President Lincoln is a paranormal and a paranormal scientist? I mean, that's quite fascinating. So when I'm kind of talking about this information, I naturally ask myself questions. Oh my gosh, does this kind of freak you out? I mean, does it? Whoa, you know. Here Taffy is saying that there's different time-space continuums, and our lives end in this one, and then they resume in another, and then inevitably in that one it resumes, and then inevitably in that one our lives end, and then our lives resume here again. Okay, so, whoa, this could freak you out. So I'm trying to make these videos to help you be more comfortable, and it also helps me to be more comfortable. It's not something you necessarily need to believe, but it's something that I need you to consider, because there are things that could have a bearing on the decisions that I make and scenarios that can happen. So I want you to be well informed so that you could be prepared for the scenarios that you need to be prepared for. Okay? All right, on to my next video.